I am your host, Bill Noble. Welcome to the market update, hopefully from the shorts feed on YouTube. And if it's not, you're watching me in vertical mode. Okay, let's get to it. How do you figure out what's going to happen to Nasdaq? That's tech stocks. Bitcoin, which could be a whole separate phenomenon, and altcoins. And the key is to go back in time. 25 years ago, when I was 30 something, to figure out what happened the last time Nasdaq topped. Now, I have a feeling Arthur Hayes, a thought leader in crypto, knows exactly what happened in 2000 because he dumped a bunch of ETH and Pepe and tweeted about it. So you're like, what's Arthur Hayes thinking? What's he doing? Well, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to walk you through what it was like in 2000 and how this time is going to be similar and different. Okay, back in 2000, you had an absolute mania in tech stocks off the invention of the internet. So that was hardware, Microsoft and Cisco. Cisco was like routers. You had AOL for connection to the internet. You had Dell for personal computers. Just exploded. Sort of similar to AI today, although I think back then the phenomenon may have been way more profitable, right? AI today helps people make money, but it's not totally clear how you make money from an LLM. We'll see. Now, back then, when Nasdaq topped, here's what happened. Don't miss this. Here's what happened when Nasdaq topped. Nasdaq went straight down for, you ready? 3 months. 3 months straight down. Now, obviously, since the Nasdaq decline is only 2 days old, that's a wee bit scary. But 25 years after Nasdaq, things are going to move a lot faster. It's not going to be 3 down months in Nasdaq. It may be 3 down weeks or 3 or 4 vicious days, something like that. But Nasdaq is probably going to go vertical to the downside. By the way, if you are seeing this on the YouTube Shorts feed, please comment. Back to Nasdaq. Nasdaq in 2000 went straight down. But something else happened. As Nasdaq was going straight down, other okay. All right, we are not on the air. Okay, new link. All right, I'm killing this. We're on a new link. Oh, I am live. Okay, I'm just live on a new link. Okay. All right, I am live. Here we go. In 2000, Nasdaq, 3 down months. Then Dow Jones Industrial Average, your grandpa's stocks, actually held up. And you know what? As I'm looking at the chart, right, Dow Jones Industrial Average held up for months before it eventually went down in kind of a grudging way. So Nasdaq went all the way up and then all the way down. Literally, it unwound the entire thing in like a year. It took a year. Okay, now the current Nasdaq situation is going to unwind itself, not entirely. It's going to unwind the latest short squeeze, which, you know, that's a 20% drop. Now, the big question that you tuned in for is, what's the Dow Jones Industrial Average of today? Like, what's the stocks you go into, I don't know, to get away from it all? Well, maybe it's utility stocks, but that's not for a crypto audience. The answer is obvious. It's got to be Bitcoin. It's got to be. So Nasdaq could cascade lower. And maybe Arthur Hayes is right. He thinks it could test 100. Maybe people lose it in panic. I had 107, whatever. But at the end of the day, Bitcoin isn't going down as much as Nasdaq if Bitcoin goes down at all. Seriously. Now, here's another twist. And I worked with my colleague on it, and she helped me out with this. And then I was like, Solana. So you didn't think this was going to be about altcoins, did you? Well, I got more on altcoins, so don't go anywhere. What happens if Solana goes up or holds? Because Solana underperformed the entire time ETH was going up, right? It was like Bitcoin, XRP, ETH. Solana did nothing. What happens if Solana winds up kind of a haven, or Solana outperforms, meaning it doesn't go down as much as everything else? Because I'm looking at this Nasdaq chart for 2000, and let me tell you something. If Bitcoin is the new place you put your money, like the Dow back then, Bitcoin's not going anywhere. Absolutely anywhere. What's your 5-year Bitcoin prediction? Wow. That's a hefty question for a Saturday morning. I gotta go with what my co-host says. And if you want the details, you got to go in the YouTube member area. I'm not sure how you get there from the shorts feed, but you can get there. Okay. 5 years from now, my colleague says you got to stay in crypto because crypto will save your life. So what is the price of Bitcoin if you need Bitcoin to save your life? Or if you have one sat, right? If you had one sat, what's it worth in 5 years? I don't know. It's probably over 500, I would think, right? It would be the biggest asset in the world, I would think. The question isn't what price is Bitcoin at in 5 years. The question is, how badly do you need it? Right? In other words, is Bitcoin like the new monetary system? I mean, if you follow Michael Saylor, it goes to 1 million, and that's kind of an easy answer. Like, oh yeah, it's 1 million. Next question. The issue with Bitcoin 5 years from now isn't what the price is. The question is, how badly do you need it? By the way, if you're hearing us from the shorts feed, please feel free to comment that you're seeing us there. Next up, Arthur Hayes sells. Let's talk about that. So Arthur Hayes runs a hedge fund. You know, they don't want to sit around and get destroyed. So he liquidated some stuff, and he thinks Bitcoin's going to go down to 100 and he's going to test 3K, and that's not unreasonable. However, it is a very interesting phenomenon that someone who is very, very bullish just sold. It's very interesting. Now, normally, these guys are pretty good traders. Normally, he's been right. He's had a good year, right? He called 77K back in January, February, where people thought he was crazy. So if you get a test of 100 in Bitcoin, good. You got any cash left? Good. Even though that's horrible for everyone's P&L. Now, based on what I'm seeing here from 2000, again, 3 months straight down with a huge wick on the third month. So if you get 3 down weeks in crypto, or crypto goes down into the full moon on the 10th, 8 days in crypto is an eternity. Now let's talk about altcoins. Altcoins at their core are a speculative asset. They're like tech stocks in a way. They're like baby tech stocks, right? And if the big tech stocks have 10 days of, oh my God, or God forbid, 10 weeks of, oh my God, there's not going to be any bid in altcoins. Okay. There just isn't. There's really kind of no bid now, although it's not a disaster, on Saturday morning, August 2nd. So as Nasdaq goes, altcoins go, but this time when Nasdaq goes down, it'll still be overvalued. Like Nasdaq went down for 3 months in a row in 2000, it was still wildly overvalued. It took 2 years for it to stabilize. I don't think altcoins, once they've sort of had their puke on the first wave down in stocks, I think it's all going to be stupid cheap. It's going to be stupid cheap because people are going to realize that they've got to get off the legacy system. They've got to get off the sugar, right? All the Schwab investors are like, yeah, maybe this isn't working out so good. Now, here's another reason to believe in Bitcoin. And it's another reason to believe in crypto as a whole, like ETH and Solana and XRP and Chainlink and Arbitrum and all this stuff that has real value, Okay. Let's talk about fake economic numbers. So you got accounting shenanigans into big tech stocks, not my area of expertise. Recently, you had an unemployment number come out, and the job market is terrible. Well, the job market's been terrible for 20 months in a row because there was some wild streak under Brandon where somehow the jobs number was way above what Wall Street expected. Funny how that happens. And then they tell the truth for whatever reason. To make the orange man look bad, to start a fight with Powell or continue to fight with Powell, whatever. There are reasons to believe that the job numbers of the past were not accurate. I think it's very clear they're not accurate. Now, I have a follow-up question as it pertains to Bitcoin, as it pertains to cross-chain, as it pertains to DeFi. What happens if not just the the unemployment numbers are fake? What happens if the inflation numbers are also fake? Maybe Jerome Powell doesn't want to cut interest rates because inflation in the United States is a lot more than 3%. I think anybody who goes to the grocery store already knows this. But what happens if like one number's fake and maybe they're all fake? There's a saying at Wall Street, when you have one roach, you have a million. It's amazing that, nobody went into the Bureau of Labor Statistics when they first got in office. Now, here's the catch. Start thinking about altcoins. Aave, Uniswap, Jupiter, right? Sonic. Think of all these coins like the layer twos. How about optimism? How about all of these plays for financial infrastructure like Ondo, right? Real world assets. No one talks about it. But you're going to start to find out, like, if the economic numbers are fake, what else is fake? Well, how about the accounting at the big tech firms, right? This can spread. It spread back in 2000 and 2001. First, it was Enron. Then it was like a phone company. It spread everywhere. Everybody's accounting all of a sudden was fake, with Enron being the biggest culprit. And you've had no major announcements from banks about entering the DeFi space. None. Now, you're going to find that is going to change very quickly, likely led by BlackRock announcements. So let's war game this out, right? Let's say Nasdaq goes down 10 straight days. Nasdaq goes down 5%, 10 days in a row, something like that. 3 to 5% straight down. Just like a little purge, kind of like giving the system an enema, right? Do a little cleanse, a little juice cleanse. And of course, all coins will go with it, most likely, until Bitcoin starts rallying. Because Bitcoin can rally on its own. Bitcoin is very important here. Like all the headlines are like, oh, the Bitcoin bull market is over. You could have some profit taken, but I got you something, homie. Let me tell you something. It's not over. This could be a correction. It could be 100K because Nasdaq loses 15%, or Bitcoin may not go down at all. And then as soon as Nasdaq stops, Bitcoin goes through 120. Seriously. And probably takes ETH and Solana with it. Now, how do you survive in altcoins? Okay. First, you have to be psychologically ready for major pain. Sorry to ruin your Saturday morning, but altcoins could go down for fear of what Nasdaq and the Japanese markets will do on Sunday night. So there will be a persistent level of fear as long as Nasdaq is tenuous. Now, Nasdaq may not blow up like it did in 2000 because of this idea of the data center build out. In other words, back then when that bubble popped, like that bubble was digital or, some hardware. It wasn't a gigantic build out like buildings and things like that. So AI can exponentially improve. So my point is, I don't think NASDAQ is going to go to zero. I don't think NASDAQ's going to go down 4 months in a row. NASDAQ's going to go down, but it may not be the end of the world. And I conferred with my colleague on this, and she's pretty smart. So if NASDAQ is not the end of the world, but your altcoin portfolio feels like the end of the world, at the point that you can't take it anymore, that's when you go shopping. Because my colleague never wants to look at altcoins when they're up. She only wants to shop when they're down. And of course, the market may oblige, right? Again, going through interesting altcoins. SUI, wow, $3.40. Chainlink below 16. Aptos, a fast layer 1, right? Ohm, a value investing play. Can you believe my colleague likes Ohm? I still can't believe it, right? XDC, speaking of that, there are coins that the banking system is going to be required to use. XRP, XLM, Algorand, Hedera, XDC. Don't hear much about that. Although you do hear Uncle Sugar talking about, hey, we're going to have a working group. Hey, we're going to have a world tour. Hey, we're going to have this. Okay. Hey, guys, can you find a low-hanging fruit and do something? Like Eric Trump's like, hey, buy the dip. Eric, wait 5 days. You know what I'm saying? Don't buy the first dip. Because you know what happens? And the normies are going to do this in NASDAQ. They're going to buy the first dip. And if the first dip doesn't work, then you're going to have follow-through selling. You're going to have dip buyers selling, more normies selling, and God knows you're going to have hedge funds and the trend followers turn around and knock it down. Caspa Ag says, Bitcoin Cash thoughts. Sir, Bitcoin Cash, antivirus, Monero are near and dear to my heart. Bitcoin Cash is like the Roger Ver meme coin. Now, Bitcoin Cash outperformed massively on the way up. So I'm assuming if there's a correction, there will be a hefty downdraft in Bitcoin Cash. But when normies return to this market, they're going to see it as green, cheap Bitcoin. And in many ways, it is transaction-friendly Bitcoin. And things that are transaction-friendly like XRP and the future of money, I have been interested in that since 2020. Okay, thoughts on TAO. I had a colleague that used to say, make them sell it to you at a good price. And man, I swear, this guy was one of the smartest traders. He would find his range and move around in his range, and he was really good at that. make them sell it to you at a good price. So that's what they're going to do in TAO. That's what they're going to do in NEAR. That's what they're going to do in Pyth. That's what they're going to do in Avalanche. TAO is a marquee AI play. And what you're going to discover when Nasdaq gets wrecked is the AI play is not exactly profitable. Okay. One person says, I don't see the stock market going massively lower. You know what? I hope you're right. I hope you're right. And we don't think it's 3 months in a row. We don't think it's a 1-year bear market. I mean, you're going to hear all that over the weekend. You know, it's funny. I haven't seen Black Monday yet. I remember when they thought there was going to be a Black Monday during the tariff situation. And when it was trending on Twitter, my comment was, if it's trending on Twitter, it's not going to happen. But I haven't heard Black Monday yet. I haven't heard it. So if you don't hear it, and if you don't know what Black Monday is, it's understandable. Black Monday was an event where the stock market declined for like a month, and then it went down 25% in one day. This was before they had limits and circuit breakers and all of that. I mean, seriously, it shook the entire world. Like, I thought I was going to have to come home from college. I thought my father, he was a stockbroker at the time. I thought it was the end of the world. Everybody did. Okay. I know a guy, market update people know about the story that I didn't know in person, but there's a story about a guy who left the New York Stock Exchange, went to some sort of gold dealer, bought a giant gold bar, and went and laid in the fetal position in his house with his gold bar. Could you have that type of temporary price action in Nasdaq? Yeah. You could have a flash crash, right? You could have Nasdaq go like 3%, hit the 5%, hit the limit, 7% hit the limit, 10% hit the limit. They may do it all in one day, which would be preferable for altcoins, right? Because they can just heave it, and as soon as they're done heaving it, Bitcoin comes back, right? Back-to-back bearish build days. Nice. Okay, well, actually, in this market, I hate being connected to Nasdaq. I hate it, right? I want to see this thing detach. Like, I want Nasdaq to go down and Bitcoin and SUI and Solana to go up. And believe it or not, that may be more realistic, a more realistic scenario as we approach the full moon. All right. Right. I saw a comment flash by. I can't read the comments entirely. This does feel like we were on the shorts feed. So why did he? What was it? I don't get it. Right? Why do you go into fetal position with a gold bar? Okay. No, this is not a figure of speech. This actually happened. Let me explain. And again, this is relevant for crypto people because we're dealing with this all the time. When you go down, when a market goes down 25% in one day, people couldn't even sell. Everyone was selling, but everyone couldn't sell. And it was at the end of a 5-year bull market, and that was like catastrophic. Like, people thought literally the world was going to end. Let's put it that way. So if you were upset and you were afraid, what do people do when they're afraid? They buy gold. So this guy just left the New York Stock Exchange, bought gold, and took a nap. Let's put it that way. Right? I mean, don't tell me that hasn't happened to you in crypto. Don't tell me that you've sat and watched crypto all day and I don't know, you had a beer or you just laid down and had to sleep it off. This is a tough business, right? And that's a good point that we need to make, right? It is a little negative because of Nasdaq, but I don't want to be negative about crypto because I think, especially if the bullish people are selling like Arthur Hayes, this thing could pull up short of where everybody thinks it's going. This is a great point that this person who commented on that, I think it's Felix, right? If the bullish people get short, if the bullish people hedge, if the bullish people are like, I'll get to buy this lower, They may not get to buy it lower, or they'll get to buy it marginally lower, like 10% lower, not 40% lower. Let's hope that turns out to be the case, because again, I'm convinced that Bitcoin is the place where everybody is going to run into, which is why Ray Dalio and the big hedge fund guy who knew this was coming, that's why he bought gold and Bitcoin. He moved a ton of money out of both stocks and bonds. Now, we're not going to do charts on the shorts feed, but I am telling you that you're going to want to figure out, where did this recent altcoin rally start from for your altcoin, right? Where did it start? Because most likely Nasdaq's going to unwind the recent short squeeze, or most of it. So altcoins may wind up, taking out some of the recent rally. Now, if your altcoin holds the 62% retracement, you're golden. It's the golden dip. Because honestly, as I talk it out in crypto, if you get a dip in crypto off nonsense in legacy, no matter how scary it is, crypto is going to bottom and come back harder. Especially if normies get to see what they saw last time, which is a flat out detachment where all of crypto was up 3% as Nasdaq was falling. Now, are we there yet? No. Right. Probably the full moon is where the whole thing turns. And I want everybody to be ready, but I don't want everybody to be afraid. Right? Fear in this kind of situation is your enemy, because what's happening to Nasdaq is frankly organic. It's just way too overvalued. It is. I mean, it's as overvalued as stocks were in 2000, which is why, back then it was all the way up, all the way down, and it took a year. It ain't going to take a year. Whatever they're going to do to Nasdaq, they're going to do it right now. Now, back to the Fed. One thing you have to watch for in altcoins is the V bottom. No, let's just pretend, because I don't want to be all negative, but let's pretend altcoins go down sharply. There could be an event. Powell could quit, right? Because I don't know how Powell keeps his job if all the numbers are fake and the stock market crashes a week after he refused to cut rates. You could have a V bottom in altcoins. So make them sell it to you at a good price. But unless you've done a bad trade and you need to raise capital, maybe you don't sell. Now, this is opinion, not investment advice. I know I need to say that earlier in the video. But the idea of a V bottom, because I'm looking at the V top in Nasdaq back in 2000, in altcoins, you have to consider a V bottom. You may even have to consider that in Bitcoin. I mean, look, if Arthur Hayes says Bitcoin's going to test 100, you're going to have the whole world down there buying. I mean, that would have to be the only way Bitcoin gets to 100 is if, it's the apocalypse. Somebody gave me a $2 super chat for Bitcoin Cash. I appreciate that. One of my BCH miners went down. I'll be back. Dude, Roger Ver in Spain, that's where he is, waiting to be sent back to Uncle Sugar to face God knows what. It's not good. He's got a whole little enclave in Spain where they all accept Bitcoin Cash. It's kind of cool. Although what's happening to Roger Ver and the guy from Tornado Cash is definitely not cool. And you have to watch out, because the Tornado Cash verdict, whether this guy who ran this privacy code and chain called Tornado Cash, as to whether or not he's guilty, could be a positive catalyst for crypto if he's not guilty. And that could be the V bottom. We are in search of support. We're in search of support. Seriously. It's like and we're going to be doing this in Patreon and the YouTube member area. It's like, I got it all chambered up. I am just going to be like, okay, where's the bottom? How do we find it? Right? There's Patreon for reports. There's YouTube member area for podcasts. I'm keeping the shill to a minimum on these type of streams because, again, this is our first time from the shorts feed. Niels Toussaint says, you need help. Bro, I got it right here. It's empty. You damn Skippy, I need help. We all do. You need good research in this market. Okay. And the research you can also do yourself. Like you look to the right, look to the left, excuse me, on your chart. And you look and say, where did this altcoin rally start? And then you may see a wick down below it. Now, that may be a disturbing number for your altcoin. But if you face the truth, because as my father says, or used to say, every big mistake starts with denial. So don't be in denial about what can happen in Nasdaq, and don't be in denial about what can happen in altcoins. Also, don't be in denial about how fast it can be. This is why am I on the air on Saturday morning? Because I want to tell people that if you have an altcoin decline, they could just do it all at once. Like maybe I'm crazy. RMA says Bitcoin is a scam. HB says you need a wig. Dude, first thing I need is a haircut. And then I would definitely wear a wig. Like I have a partner, right? We do live streams and we call her Girl Bill and they're trying to dress me up as Boy Toby. She's a good looking blonde woman. I don't know if I want to wear a blonde female wig because this is the internet after all. Okay. Somebody lost a lot of money in the Haktua coin. Let's talk about this. You got to understand as best you can what you're putting your money in. If you gamble on a meme coin, make sure you understand why you're gambling on that. Like, well, I like this coin because. Not I like this coin because I think it's going to 1000x and I don't understand it. Make sure you understand it. And guys do. I mean, Ansem, he would go to clubs. This is a Solana meme coin guy who blew up last meme coin super cycle. He would take pictures of all the little characters to clubs and have girls pick one that they thought was cute, and he'd go home and buy them, and they'd all 10x. So if you lost money, I have a motto for you. So what? Now what? You have something in common with all the most famous traders in the world. If you bought the high and sold the low, they've all done it so many times. This is a good reminder for altcoin traders that one of the most famous traders in the world has the thought process. Every time he buys and it goes down, he wants to sell. Stan Druckenmiller is his name. And don't tell me you're not looking at altcoins. Don't tell me you're not looking at this whole board being red. Actually, it seems like, at this whole board being red on a Saturday morning, you're like, oh my God. Like, what are they going to do to this thing tomorrow? You all want to sell, and you might have to sell if you did a bad trade. It's okay. It's okay. So what? Now what? Like, I was too bullish 3 days ago. All right, fine. Fine. Nasdaq crashed. It was not on my bingo card to have Nasdaq crash because the economy rolled over and Powell was stupid. That was not on my bingo card because ETH was outperforming. Okay, right? Thoughts on Dogwifhat? Funny you mentioned that because you know what? They never reopened the meme coin casino. Now, what is Dogwifhat? It's leveraged Solana. It's leveraged Solana. Now, Solana hasn't been doing good. So, of course, leveraged Solana is going to get hammered, which I'm looking at right now. Dogwifhat had, a good month, and then they unwound most of it in a period of days. If you go look at the WIF hat chart, that could be what's coming, right? Like it went all the way up and then it goes like straight down for 6 days. Now, if that does happen, can you hold on? If not, adjust your book, because you know when this thing turns around, it's going to be unbelievable. Bitcoin went down 40% in August of 2017, only to just make complete God candles over Thanksgiving and Christmas to the point where nobody remembered what happened. Nobody remembered what happened in August. Okay. ETH will be the next to 100K, not XRP. When you look at these cryptos, you want to start thinking about their market cap, right? Like, do you realize that they erased $1 trillion from equities? That's the market cap. That's the change. And I know I already said this, but do you realize that that number is bigger than all of altcoins? So right now, ETH is at 423 billion. That should be at $1 trillion. Should definitely be over 500. Not today, right? XRP is only worth 174 billion. That's nothing, really. I mean, you can have a moderate stock, a moderately large stock, fluctuate $173 billion in one day. It's not a large number. Like Microsoft, Nvidia, they're worth 4 trillion. Solana is only worth 88 billion. So Solana isn't even worth 100 billion. We could run DPIN, we could run, real world assets. Any chance Bitcoin will reach 200K by 2035? Well, dude, if you're in the YouTube member area, my Ace co-forecaster will tell you where Bitcoin and when it's going to get to 200K. Safe to say, dude, by 2035, that's a 10-year horizon. I think you got to bust out with Michael Saylor's numbers, dude. It's probably 7 figures. It's probably a whole different monetary system because machines are not going to trade fiat. And you want to be looking for layer ones. You do. Right? Everyone's like, oh my God, it's all about fear. It's all about Nasdaq. No, it's not. It's about SUI. SUI is now underneath 12 billion. In equities, they've flossed their teeth with 12 billion. Chainlink, 10 billion, right? Hedera, Avalanche is below 10 billion. You can run security tokens on Avalanche. Okay, you get the point. You absolutely get the point. It's Ocho is here. What's going on? Right? I don't know what's up with Pepto-Bismol. Does it really work that good? Yes, Pepto-Bismol is a prop for stress. It's actually a thing I got from Kramer. He'll show himself drinking Pepto-Bismol at his terminal. He was doing that during the tightening cycle. Actually, it does work pretty good. Like Alka-Seltzer first, then Pepto-Bismol. Now, short of, substances that impair your judgment, whatever you got to do to survive, whatever happens, maybe it's over in a day, maybe it's over in 10 days, maybe it scares the daylights everybody. You know what? The scarier it is, the more I love it. Because the one thing you want to do, hate to say it, is that you want guys like Arthur Hayes, you want the bulls to sell, you want them to get out, because that's when it turned. That's what happened in stonks when fear greed went to 0. So really, the short stream is my way of introducing the product to you guys, right? It's also about, hey, how do you get your head straight? Because that's what equities guys do on the weekends, right? They go read Barron's. They say, all right, how do we get our head straight for next week? Most likely, they're all going to freak out. I can't see retail buying the first dip, and if it doesn't work, then you're going to have massive selling. Thoughts on Coinbase, HB? I'd be happy to. Okay, what went up the most when crypto stocks were going up? Coinbase and Circle, right? Because they were kind of connected. Now, you did have excessive FOMO in both Coinbase and Circle. The rest of the crypto stock market, some of it went up. Some of the Bitcoin treasury stocks went up, but they also got hammered back down again. So Coinbase is a great buy if it gets hammered, right? And it's already gotten hammered. And you have to be ready, like what's going to happen to any crypto stock if all coins are going down and Nasdaq has 10 down days? Yeah, I don't know, right? But, gaps, I call them gaps, are going to get filled. So in Coinbase, trying not to look off the feed, right? There's a gap in Coinbase at 241. That's the worst case scenario. Right now, Coinbase is at 314. So, but, if you look at like Lux Algo, Coinbase is just now coming back to equilibrium at 300. So I don't think you have to freak out. Don't go on Twitter and fall for this thing like, well, my downside target is, because you know what? The lower the market goes, everybody is going to lower their downside targets. Don't do that. You're going to have to read the market and you're going to have to find max fear. And again, most likely it will be high-powered money from the Fed that stops this. If for no other reason, they're going to have to help the Japanese because there are wrinkles in here that people are not aware of. There are wrinkles in here people are not aware of. Right? And I'm not going to go into that now because, NASDAQ going lower could trigger other things that are scary, right? Okay, ZBCN up on the day. ZBCN is deep in for normies with the little debit card, as I understand it. Anything that outperforms in this environment, when this market turns around and goes up, anything that outperforms, like Bitcoin Cash may be an exception, because Bitcoin Cash and the market have a little bit of a different relationship. But if you have a small altcoin that doesn't go down much or kind of tries to go up every time the selling stops, that's a winner, people. And you know what? It may be that simple. Really. I mean, you go through this thing, like helium is up, right? Certain things are going to be up during this period, and that's the stuff you jump on. Is there any option to recover all the lost Bitcoins using quantum computers or really advanced software? Okay. Quantum computers, in theory, are a threat to things like Bitcoin. And you hear a lot about it. And then I read this one guy who would say, if you had a quantum computer, why would the first thing it do is to go after Bitcoin? The thing it would go after is the dollar payment system, SWIFT. That would be a lot more lucrative. I don't know how much money they're running through SWIFT every day, but it's a lot. And you know what? When you start bringing up the quantum computers, I don't know what they'll be able to do, but privacy is going to matter. Like AI, NTI, antivirus, that's my favorite little privacy John McAfee meme coin play. If anybody knows who John McAfee is, he wrote the Declaration of Cryptocurrency Independence in 2018. And he told you things about 3-letter government agencies that now is consensus. But back then it was crazy because he was in trouble with every single one of them. Privacy is going to matter when computing power increases. I mean, one big tech company has formed the artificial super intelligence team. That's like Skynet. Okay. So when Skynet comes online, you're going to want to have privacy. What's a threat to Bitcoin? I don't know. They're going to have to figure out how to quantum proof Bitcoin somehow, because they're going to need Bitcoin to be a whole new monetary system. Period. Right. So markets climb the wall of worry. If people are worried about quantum computing, Bitcoin can climb the wall of worry. Felix says, what will you say if Nasdaq goes up instead of crashing? Okay, well, the way I would characterize it is Nasdaq isn't necessarily going to crash. It is going to wash people out. A crash was 1987. Now, to your point, if Nasdaq does not go down, if it's a 2-day downdraft and Nasdaq is just forming a range, Bitcoin's just going to go straight up. Crypto just goes straight up, right? I mean, I think the reaction to altcoins over the last 4 days was in preparation for what was going to happen in equities, because crypto, despite what people think, is a very smart market. Crypto led the way down on the tightening cycle. And if Nasdaq does not go lower, that's incredible. It would be a gift. It would be a gift. But you do have to be careful about buying the first dip. Don't buy the first dip, right? Buy it if it turns, because one thing that down markets love to do is they love to suck you in, and you have to be careful of the failed rally. So it's a good question, dude. It's a good question. What happens if it's just a simple blowout, simple sell the fact off some of the big tech earnings? It's just that with Nasdaq, you have a serious overvaluation and the economy stinks. This is also going to affect S&P, not just Nasdaq, right? So, I think they can flush people out. Why not? They've been flushing altcoin people out for 5 days, right? CP always says, well, that's when you buy it because it's all going to be horse dung. Dude, I understand. Yeah. That's why I'm talking about altcoins possibly being a V bottom, right? Right. And can a really advanced AI solve Bitcoin hash puzzles within a day? Sure. Okay. But you got to remember, if you don't have Bitcoin as a monetary system, what exactly do you have? What do you have? Somebody says, is he the kicker that used to be the kicker for the Colts and now does his own ESPN show? No, I am not that guy. Sugwana says, where do I start my crypto journey? Wow, that's a great question. We got quite the lively crowd today. This is how you start your crypto journey. Okay, ready? You buy a notebook. You buy paper. And every day, you write down the closing price of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. Doesn't have to be a notebook, maybe a piece of paper. Maybe do it on your phone. Just write down the price. Then do that for like 5 days. Then take whatever is a small amount of money for you. Let's pretend you're in the United States and you can put in $50. And everybody will say, oh, I can afford to lose $50. I go to Las Vegas. I do this all the time. I lose a whole bunch of money. Okay. You put $50 into crypto and wake up the next morning and it'll be at 30 and you will be upset. Your crypto journey starts with learning and noticing how you emotionally react to the volatility. Then there's another magic thing that happens is that your brain, when your money goes in, it will start learning. It was like, okay, let's figure all this out. Your brain is a quantum computer. So you write it down for a couple days, then you put money in, you're setting your brain up to just learn it. Everybody starts with Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Solana. A lot of guys start with XRP. It really doesn't matter. Don't put the rent money in some meme coin because your friend did it. Please don't do that, right? Give your brain a chance to learn it if you can do that, right? Spiro 454 says, great contract or content, Crypto Noble. Well, friends, I'm glad you're here. This is also a reminder. If you need a roadmap in crypto, subscribe to the channel because you want to know when we're going live from the shorts feed, because we've discovered this. My producer figured this out, how to get live to the shorts feed. And we are going to do this early and often. Early and often. Okay. So if you like the content, set the notification bell. I know no one wants to set the notification bell, but we are going live. We are good at this, and we want to do this anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes. I'm not sure how long I've been banging this out right now, but I think what I'm going to do is wrap it up. To our members, we appreciate your business. To our new people, welcome. That is the first live market update from the shorts feed. Next time, people, next time. Tune in.